Hello and welcome to part 2 of our brief history of virtual reality. The 1990s saw the invention of walk-in VR systems. In 1992, the virtual reality cave was invented at the Electronic Visualization Laboratory at the University of Illinois in Chicago by Carolina Krusnaira, Tom DeFonte, and Dan Sandin. The cave was a 10-foot wide square room with 3D projectors for 3 walls and the floor. A single silicon graphics computer rendered the images in a way that it looked like one was surrounded by holograms. A big enabler of the VR cave was the ever-increasing graphics performance of high-end graphics mainframes, especially those from Silicon Graphics. In 1993, the Silicon Graphics Reality Engine was capable of rendering 200,000 textured and garage-shaded polygons per second. Compared with today's NVIDIA GTX 1080 graphics cards, which can render 50,000 times as many, that was not impressive. But it was a milestone regardless, and over the next few years, rendering performance would more than double every year. While the first cave and most other VR devices in the 1990s used electromagnetic or ultrasonic tracking, the year 2002 was a milestone for tracking because optical tracking systems became available. First developed for motion capturing in Hollywood movies, they quickly were adopted by the VR community, which appreciated it for its tracking accuracy and reliability. By the mid-2000s, consumer graphics cards were fast enough to play demanding games on high-resolution screens in near photorealistic quality. What was missing was a small, inexpensive, but high-resolution screen to create VR headsets with resolution that even gamers would be willing to accept. The year 2007 marked a new era of cell phones, with Apple releasing the iPhone. It would take the competition more than 2 years to come out with a competing device. And after that, it would take a few more years for those displays to become crisp and cheap enough to be used as screens for consumer VR devices. 19-year-old Palmer Luckey realized that exactly, created a prototype, and in 2012 created a Kickstarter project for an inexpensive VR headset, which he called the Oculus Rift. It would take a mere 2 years for the young startup Oculus to be purchased by Facebook for more than $2 billion. 2 additional years later, in 2016, Oculus released its first consumer product, the Oculus Rift CV1. The latter stands for Consumer Version 1. 2016 was also the year that HTC released the Vive, Sony released the PlayStation VR, and Microsoft released the HoloLens. We're going to look more closely at these consumer-oriented head-mounted displays later in this course. Starting with the next video, we're going to look at how displays for VR work. But first, we need to understand how the human visual system works.